Hello everyone, welcome to my channel today. I thought I'd do a small class on mermaid paperclip tags that I'm doing for my mermaid journal, and this will also be my craft group class for the week. So hello to all my lovely ladies in my craft group. Thought you might enjoy following this today as well. Now these mermaids today come from a Mrs Cogs Craft kit that I am working on. So I just thought I'd show you quickly some of her lovely digitals from her mermaids kit. So what I've done is I've shrunk them down a little bit to make the mermaid tags today because they needed to be just a little bit smaller. So I've printed them out on some heavier cardstock, and I've printed them out 2 to a page so that you can actually fit more in. So just to show you the kits, this is kit number 1 of the mermaids, and there are 3 pages in the first kit. Just try and make sure I'm centered here. I absolutely love this one. Isn't she beautiful? They are gorgeous. And this lovely one here with the mirror, she's beautiful. They're all beautiful. It's a really lovely kit. This one brushing her hair. Really gorgeous classical pictures of mermaids. This lovely one on the beach here. The colours are really lovely too. Love the blues. This one's from set 2. Set 2 has 4 pages. So I've got this lovely one with the sea dragon creature. Really pretty. That one's lovely too. They're all very nice. So that's what we'll be working with today, Mrs Cogs Crafts mermaids kits. And I've just gathered together a few little bits and pieces, and I've cut out some of the cards. I've just chosen 3 of my favourites today. I've cut them out and I've just gone around the edges with the Sage Shadow ink, just to add a little bit of colour to that. So that will, when you put it together, make the colour stand out a little better. I'll just bring you in a bit now that I've shown you those, because you're probably miles away, although I usually end up too close. So let's just see if that works today. Oops, I'm working on a small table here, so I haven't got much room to kind of push things aside, which is why I end up bunched up in the middle. So from my lovely collection of bits and pieces that I have received over the last year or so, I have collected from my stash some beautiful bits of fabric. Some are from Bohodaydreams, some are from Bears and Old Lace, and some have been gifted to me. Some, like bits and pieces, came from Mrs Cog in her gift earlier last year, and some of the ladies in my own class group have sent along a few mermaidy type things that will go together. So I thought I'd just start with, I'll move some of these aside now that I've gathered some colours together that I sort of like the look of. I'll move these ones aside just to show you some of the things that you might need for this. You definitely need a paper clip, so that's going to be what you hang it from. You may need a few little trinkets, anything like these sort of things that hang, and probably a jump ring, because you may need to attach a jump ring to your trinket so that it will hang nicely off your paper clip like that. And if you don't know how to do that, I will show you. So I'll just pop that down. And there's another one there. So There's a lovely sun and a moon which came from Mrs Cog, and one of her lovely beads. So to get them to hang right, you need the jump ring as well. So if you're in my group and you haven't done this before, I'll just show you how to do that. So you take your little jump ring and you need to separate it, but you need to separate it gently sideways, rather than, you don't pull it apart that way because that weakens the strength of it. So you just pull it apart gently like that, and then you'll hook your trinket into it like that and gently squeeze it back together again so that you don't damage the integrity of the strength of your jump ring. So it's quite simple really, not too hard at all. And when you're doing your paper clip, you would hang your, first of all work out which way you want it to slide on the page. Do you want it left or right page? So then you know where you want your trinket to hang. That's just an important little message to remember. And then you'll know whether you've got it back the front. See, for that one to hang that way, you would be coming onto your left side page that way, and if you want it to go the other way, right ways, then you need to turn your trinket the other way so that oops, so that it hangs in the opposite direction to what you were. Okay, so that's that. Now I'll just move these aside, the bits and pieces that I've collected up for my other little, I'll just leave that one there, it's quite pretty. Just wanted to make sure that this is in the middle so that you can see what I'm doing, because last time I noticed I was terribly off to the side and you probably couldn't see anything that I was doing, so let's just hope that's enough that you can see. Alright, so I've chosen for this one a piece of fabric for the backing, so that's going to be like your bookmark part. I've chosen this lovely mermaid here on the beach, she's so pretty, and I've chosen some tinted muslin which came in one of these lovely kits from Bears and Things, so that's been slightly coloured in a soft green to go behind. I've chosen this beautiful piece from Bohodaydreams, so that's embroidered softly. I've chosen a starfish, I've chosen some mermaid scales. Okay, so we'll start by putting this one together, and I have to say too that these are inspired by Liz, Mrs Cogs Crafts, because she did some beautiful designs in these herself, and I'm just following on from her ideas in making a set for my mermaid journal. So I've pieced together a few bits and pieces that I thought I would stick together. I've made some dyed paper that sort of looks like oceany, bottom of the sea kind of looking paper, and I'm just going to use that as the base. So what I'm going to do is just to glue them together only enough to hold them in place, because I'm going to sew them all together. Now you don't have to sew, but if you want to sew, you don't need to use a lot of glue, just enough to tack it down. If you don't want to use sewing and you want to just glue, I'd use a lot more glue to hold it in place. I'm just today tacking it down so that I can actually stitch it, and you just layer it up how you want to put it. Now I'm going to put this on first so that the other little piece is over the top, so I'll just tack that with a little bit of glue in place, front and back. So So I only want it just to hang on long enough that I can sew it, and I don't sew over the wet glue. I do let the glue dry first, or I glue only where I'm not going to sew. So I'll let that glue there dry, as I'm just holding it where I want it for the time being. Now she's going to be my centre piece, so I'll work out where I'd like her to be on the piece, and I thought that I'd have that at the top because the little sequins look very much like mermaid tail, mermaid scales. So I think that's sort of roughly round about where I'd like it, so I might just roughly glue the middle of, the middle of that area there to hold my mesh down, my mermaid mesh. And then I'll just go around the centre of my picture, my image, and put that in place with enough room to put this lovely daisy, which also has sequins. And it kind of does look like an underworld sort of flower, maybe from a coral or something. Kind of does look sea green. Apart from that, it's very pretty. From Bohodaydreams bundle. Sheila has some really gorgeous fabrics, really pretty, in the boho style. So that's just enough to hold it there until I can actually get to sew it. So I'll be going around the edge with my sewing machine, and I'll put this one on too. So they come together really quite quickly once you've gathered all your bits and pieces. You just need to have a bit of an eye for what goes together, the colour combinations, what you like together. And after I've sewed it, I'll add some little extra bits and pieces, like maybe the starfish. And I've got the little shell at the top, and the little shell is quite pretty because on the back, I don't know if you can see that there, on the back it actually has a little picture of a person with a trident from the underwater world, so one of the sea gods, I guess, there. So that's the first one. Second one I've got is a little bit darker fabric, and it's this lovely mermaid with the fish going in and out the seaweed. I really like that print. So I've got 3 layers here. I've got 2 layers of fabric. I have a darker green underneath with a pretty broderie and glace pattern, and again some more of my dyed cardstock, which has a kind of sandy sea floor look to it. So I'm just going to put my layers together, and you could even put your piece you want to put your paperclip on the inside if you wanted to have that in between the layers. I like to get that piece in, if I can, in between here ready, because then I know I can't do it the wrong way, which has been known to happen. So I might put that in the middle in between there, so it gets sewn in nice and securely. So on top of that, I'll put a little bit there so it sticks really well. On top of that, we're putting this lovely broderie and glace piece. So that's our second layer, and it's really sewn pretty. You could decide whichever way you wanted to use it, and that is the top, but it wouldn't matter. But I thought it looked like seaweeds and bits of seagrass sort of floating in the ocean. And then I've got this lovely piece here with the bling all over it. Lovely Indian sari. The boho bling, which always looks lovely. With this gorgeous, lovely piece of coral on the bottom. It's clearly a coral flower. It is in our imagination, in our fantasy world. So they're going to be just hanging together enough to sew without losing the pieces. So I'll go over and sew those all together shortly when the glue's had a bit. This glue does set pretty quickly, so once it's had time to set, I shall go and sew around my pictures and things just to give it that little bit of extra life. So there we have that one, lovely one. I've put together another light one because I'm really attracted to that soft sage green. So I've gone with just some tea-dyed paper this time, just very lightly stained, not very strong, and I will cut around the edges of that. But because this is very delicate fabric and it's very hard to cut straight, as you can see, it's quite crooked, I'm going to go over that once it's stuck to the paper to straighten the edge. It's slithery and it is very hard to keep it still. It's beautiful fabric though, really pretty. Not even sure which is meant to be the right side, but both sides look beautiful. I think that side is. I actually like that's a more seaside, seagrass kind of look. It's probably the wrong side, but it actually works really well for this. So probably don't need that much glue on there, but that's okay. I'm going to cut round that, as I said. I might go wrong. Alright, so we're working on this one here now. And I've just glued down this piece and I'm going to cut around the edges of that to straighten it all up. Now, what I decided to have was this lovely shell-shaped piece. Another of these are both from Bohodaydreams, and these lovely, well, they look like mermaid tail scales to me. They're very pretty little sequins, and I thought they went very well with my mermaid. They kind of matched her tail, so I thought she could go on there. And I have these lovely pieces here that I put along the bottom and the top to sort of frame it just a little. I mean, you can have your shell really any way you want it. That looks quite good that way. And then we need our little piece to put our star on, which I've collected here, so I'll just feed that through there so it's ready to go on the right way around and I don't make a mistake and put it back the front. So they're going on the right hand page. So if you're not sure, just check which way your clip is going and then you'll know whether you're going the right way on your page. And if you want it on the left side, then you just change direction and you go that way, but make sure you have your little charm heading in the right direction before you sew it down. Now with these pins I have curled the edges on these, and that's quite simple. All you need to do is grab your little pliers and go to the very edge. You just curl it back towards yourself. Once you've got a grip on it, it's quite simple. So you curl that over towards the edge and you get that really nice little curled shape. And you can do that with your inside one as well. So you just take your little pliers, get to the edge. I always make sure I've got my charm on first though, because you can't get over your curl otherwise. So I put the charms on before I do the curls. Whoops. So that is for the top there. Okay, so I'll just glue these into place and I'll come back and show you after I've sewn these all down so you know exactly what I've put where. I think I might have her on top there. I think that one was going on top anyway. So I'll start with this piece. So we want that stuck to the back, so we need a bit of glue on the back. They don't take very long to put together. I think the longest part is deciding what colours you want to put and what bits and pieces you need to find in your stash that will make your design work. So that's probably what you spend the most time actually doing, is looking at your design and deciding, do I like that together or don't I? And if you don't, just scratch it and start again. Not too hard. So I think that goes along there. If you find that your piece is a bit long, you can always just snip a little bit off the edge. Because you'll be covering that with your braid or trim or lace or whatever you have found that you want to add. I've got a bit of old braid here that is like for soft furnishings. All of these things are recycled bits and pieces that I've found around the place to give them another life, leftovers from other jobs. So we'll put down our mermaid tail scales. You can see a few little tiny scales have fallen off underneath there. We've got a couple of loose ones. Tiny little things they are. So we'll put that down somewhere around here. Doesn't really matter where, because it's kind of just going to hang from the bottom to pick up on her mermaid tail. There. So we'll pop her over the top. Like that. And then work out where we're going to have a lovely shell. My gosh, that's a pretty shell. I don't really know which way to have it because it's so nice both ways. I think that way looks lovely. Anyway, it's all in the eye of the beholder. What looks good to one will probably not look good to another, and 50% will probably want to turn it up the other way, but there you go. To me it looks like the creature who might live in the shell would be wandering along the sea floor in that sort of way, because they'd live inside of here. So I haven't put a lot of glue on any of this because I'm sewing. If you don't want to sew, just add more glue. If there's bits that you don't want to sew, you just go around and you just tuck in a little bit more glue where you want that to hold firmly. And you should not need to sew then. If you don't have a sewing machine or you're not confident sewing, you should be able to just get away with the glue and that wouldn't be a problem at all. So I'm gluing down across the bottom there my braid just to finish it off. And I don't mind that there's some little soft frayed pieces underneath that, because they help to give that sort of fringed character. So I shall go away and sew these all now, and I'll be back to show you how they look when I've finished sewing them. And I hope that you go off and make some of your own too. Okay, so I've been away and sewed them now. So I've brought them back so you can have a look. And I've used two different threads. I've used embroidery thread, which is gold and silver, and it was a little bit slippery on the machine because of all the layers and fabric and slippery little bits and pieces that I had on there. So it gave a kind of wobbly look, but still it adds character, I think. You can see there, that's the one I've used the gold on, and I went round the shell and just around the edges and the edges of the picture. This one I used the silver on, and I just bought that little shell. I thought that looked nice with the shells that were there, so I might glue that on somewhere. But just to look at that one closely, I have zigzagged around the image and just did some wonky kind of stitching around the sides of that one, because it's a lovely dark colour, it shows up so well. And that one's got the sun and the moon and a Mrs Cog lovely green bead on there. This one here is a paler one, and I did that in the silver, and I've added just a little tassel on the bottom, a small starfish there, and she has the lovely seashell with, I think it might be King Neptune on the back there. I'm guessing that's who it is. So that shell can go either way. So there you have 3 lovely tags that will be going in my Mermaid book. With much thanks to Liz from Mrs Cogs Crafts.